Hey everybody, welcome to week 12, where we are going to continue where we left off from week 11. If you recall, we were diving deep into the pixel array and looking at all the cool things we could do at a sub-pixel level to adjust the properties of that big, long, single-dimensional array that contained red, green, blue, and alpha values for each of the pixels in our image. So if you're not yet completely comfortable with all of that pixel array stuff, then I'm going to suggest that you spend a little bit more time back in week 11, maybe rewatching those videos, because where we pick up this week is exactly where we left off there. And the knowledge that I'm going to share with you this week relies on you having an understanding of that pixel array. So if you're not yet comfy, go back, have another look at the video that I did, or have a look at some of the videos that I shared with you from Dan Schiffman this week as well. The videos that Dan shares dovetail with what I'm going to show you. But instead of using images as the input for our pixel manipulations, this week we're going to use video, either a video file that we have on our, either on our machine, on our computer, or a video file that's elsewhere on the internet as our input, or a webcam input as a video source. So that's where we'll pick up. And let me just go over here. There's not going to be any whiteboard because it's the pixel array. So go back and watch the whiteboard videos for the pixel array if you need to have a little bit more of the whiteboard understanding. You're going to look at some code this week that looks remarkably similar in many ways to what we did last week, and it's actually by design. I literally cut and pasted the core engine of that pixel array manipulation stuff. That would be a good example of something that for folks who are considering, how do I cite a source? Well, we have this code chunk that we wrote that allows you to interrogate that pixel array, right? So we remember that the formula that we had where we had to multiply by 4 because we have those 4 spaces for red, green, blue, and alpha transparency, and all of that was kind of a little bit much to just kind of remember. So you would extract that, cite the source, whether it's me or Dan Schiffman has the same. Anyone who's messing with video has that same formula. So you might cite where you got that, and then you could use that to then create your own thing. And I'm going to create my own thing here using that, a little bit of a different creation than what I made last week, but it's using the same course source code. Okay, so let's have a look. Just to familiarize you with where we are, up here in the comments, you'll see that we're going to be dealing with, in this week and next, we're going to be dealing with video and audio. And what those are in P5, those are media elements, right? And so if you want to read a little bit more about what you can do with media elements, I've given you a link here in the site, in the citation, so we can go over and we'll visit one of the reference pages. Is this it? Yeah, it's okay. The media element page. So you'll see that media elements, audio or video, have methods. We can play them, we can stop them, pause, we can choose to loop or not loop, right? We can autoplay, we can set the volume or the speed if we wanted to, do a fast forward kind of thing or a half speed. And you see that there's a lot of stuff that you can do. So chances are, if there's something in your head that you wish you could do with audio or video, there's probably a method that can help you get there. And at this point in your lives as P5 or JavaScript programmers, you should be comfortable in saying, Ed's not going to be able to teach me all of everything that I need to do for every idea. You need to be able to say, all right, here's what I want to do. How do I go into the reference page and find the information that I need to make that happen. So that's what I'm doing this week as well. Okay, so with that, I'm going to declare a global variable that's going to hold my video. We'll call it my video. Okay, just like last week we had an image variable. Also last week we were loading an image, create image. We were creating an image. This week we are going to create a video, and I just happen to have an old video of a capstone fair that one of Jen Kramer's students had done a video on the capstone fair that I was a part of back in 2015. So I thought it would be Harvard appropriate. So if you look in our week 12, we're actually in week 12.1 video right now. You'll see in the assets subdirectory of that I have an MP4 video contained within there, within that assets directory. Okay, so that's where I'm sourcing this video from. Okay, in years past, used to be that certain web browsers were partnered to only a particular video format. So in years past, I think WebKit browsers like Chrome and everything, they would use a WebM format, .webm, and they didn't play MP4s back in the days of yore. And Mozilla browsers were MP4. At this point, I believe that we can all use MP4 across the board. So I'm only using an MP4 video. If for some reason you happen to trip on a browser that doesn't use MP4 or an old browser, you might need to make sure that your video is in a different file format that would be compatible with that older browser. But at this point, for simplicity's sake, we're just going to chug ahead with MP4. Okay, just with the caveat that ye olde timey browsers might have some issues with MP4. Okay, I'm going to wave my hand at line 18 and 19 just for a second. We're going to come back to that. It's just we can use a different source file later, and I will. And then we're preloading our video in the function preload, right? So before we get the show started, we're going to make sure that our video is ready to go. Okay. You know what? What I think I'm going to do, it's going to make it easier for me to explain the code, is I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this video. All right. So I'll go over to our week 12 video. Okay. All right. So this craziness. Down here, you'll see this is the actual video source. There's Jen. Hi, Jen. This is the video source that I am using as my input. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the pixel data from the pixel array hey, there's me. Hi. We're going to take the pixel data from the pixel array and we're going to manipulate it. So I'm going to take that information and then I'm going to create a matrix of circles. And depending on what the relative brightness value of the pixel data is at the location of interest, if that makes any sense. Like, so if I have a dark area in my video, I'm going to draw a bigger circle there. If I have a brighter area, I'm going to draw a smaller circle. And then I'm going to partner the overall circle size to my mouse, so that if I move my mouse to the left, I get a little bit more of a high resolution image. And if I move my mouse more to the right, it gets a little bit more abstracted and vague. So, this has no, bearing on the video. This is just a creative expression using video data as a source. And this is just one of a million things that you could do with this, starting with that same pixel array code base. But we'll go through this one line by line. I'll explain how I built it. You can understand how I'm using the pixel data to do some stuff. And your stuff that you choose to do might be different. Hope that makes sense. And, at the risk of the big reveal coming first, I think it is helpful for us to see what's going on. All right, so let's go through function setup. The first thing that you'll see here in line 25 is a line called pixel density 1. And you'll see in the comment above, I'm referencing what, where you get more information on pixel density and why I have it there. So I'm running from a MacBook Pro Retina, which has a higher pixel density by default than your standard issue monitor. You probably, if you guys have come from DGMD E20 or maybe E27, which is the more advanced CSS class, you've seen that you can actually do like image source sets, and you can have a standard image size, and then you can have the image at 2x, which you would serve toward the the high-res browsers. So this is sort of the same thing. We're not exactly sure what kind of resolution we're going to be serving this video to. So what I'm doing is I'm making a call myself and say, hey, I'm just going to set the pixel density here to 1, which is essentially saying I'm going to negate the retina qualities of this computer. I want to make sure that this thing looks the same whether I'm on a retina machine or not. And because honestly, I'm only serving video information anyways. It's not a particularly high resolution application, so it's okay for me to do what it is that I'm doing. All right, so that's what pixel density does. Next line, line 27, you'll see that I'm just creating a canvas. The canvas size actually pairs to my video. I have a 720p video, and for those of you who haven't played with video resolutions yet, 720p is, it's not full HD, it's 720p HD, and the pixel dimensions of that video are 1280 across by 720 down. So I'm setting my canvas to match my video source input. And then I am using the DOM trick that we learned a couple of weeks ago, and all I'm doing is I'm parenting my canvas to a div element that I created here in HTML. You see on line 15, I just have a canvas div, and I'm putting it there. Okay. So so what can we do? So we have this media element now, right? And if you recall, the media element, the video, has methods. I showed you those methods back here in the reference page, jumping all over the place, but you can see that volume is one of them, right? So I have this video, and it has an audio track that corresponds with it. I don't really care about my audio track, so I'm just setting the volume to 0 because I don't want to hear it. So how did I find that? I went into the reference page for the media element, and I learned that there's a volume method, and I learned how it works, and set it to 0. The next line down, my video, I would like it to loop. So when I complete my play of, I don't know if this is a minute-long video or whatever it is, when it's done, I want it to go back to the start and play again. So I want my animation to keep going, and I just use the method loop property to make that happen. Okay, and then right now, so you see I have actually commented out that I have my video.hide. So I'm showing you both the video and the canvas that is going to be getting that video information. I should maybe make a distinction there of what's happening. Okay, this is the video. This is my video.play, down here, my video.loop, whatever it is. So that's my video. And then I have a canvas above it, which is taking information from my video and then doing some canvas animations with it. Okay? So there's, two things happening here. The video can play by itself as a video, not an HTML5 canvas, but a video. And then I have a canvas doing P5 things with that video information. Okay? So what I can do here is I'm actually only using my video as a source for my artistic vision. I don't really need to see the video itself, so I can actually hide the video. And if I do that, and then I go back to our page, now you see that I don't have the video beneath it at all. I just have the resultant feed after I manipulate it. So I just have my glitched and manipulated version. So that's all that line does for us there. So I wanted to just show you first that there's a video source, and then there's the canvas that we're going to be drawing to using our video information. So at this point, I'm just going to hide the video. It'll make things go a little bit faster. Okay. So in setup, I'm also just saying no stroke. I'm going to be drawing some circles to the canvas, as you saw, and I just don't want those circles to have a stroke, so no stroke. All right. All right. So this should look pretty familiar too. The first thing that I'm doing, aside from just making a white background, is I'm saying my video dot load pixels. Right. So I'm grabbing those pixels just like I did with the image data last week. No different at all. Not a bit different. Only difference is that the feed that I'm getting is from a video rather than from a still image. That's it. Okay. Now this is where I'm injecting a little bit of my own creativity here into the mix, but I told you that I'm going to be creating a bunch of circles in a canvas, and I want each one of those circles to be rendered based on what the video information in that area is giving me. So what's the color, and whether is it a dark pixel or a bright pixel will determine what what I draw for ellipse size and color. And then I'm going to map the size of those circles to my mouse position, and that's what this line is doing on line 49. So I've created this variable called step size, and all I'm doing here is I'm mapping the mouse X position, right? So if my mouse X is at 0, far left of the screen, then I want my circle maximum circle diameter to be 10 pixels, right? If my mouse position is way off to the width end, right, to the far end of the canvas, then I want my maximum circle size to be 80 pixels. All right, so that's the range. I'm going from 10 to 80. That's all that's doing. This is me setting up my own creative, use of this data. But at this point, I'm not teaching you how to make this example so much as I'm teaching you to fish. So I'm just saying that this is an idea I had in my head. I'm going to make, I'm going to use information from video, and I'm going to make circles that are big or small depending on where my mouse is. You're going to use your pixel information for something completely different, but you're going to need to figure out how to make your interface or make your vision come about. And I'm using one of our old tried and true functions of map to do that for me here. Okay, so moving on down, you'll see our old friends, the nested loops, right? To go through the rows and the columns of our video image this time around. Okay, so what am I doing? I'm going from 0, y value from 0 to the height of our video, incrementing by step size, right? So what's step size? Step size is, well, where's my mouse right now, right? So if my mouse, it's going to either increment anywhere between 10 and 80 pixels. So each time it's going to go through, it's going to start at 0, and if my mouse is way over to the right hand side of the canvas, then I'm going to go 0, and then I'm going to grab position 80, and I'm going to skip 1 through 79, and I'm not really going to care about that pixel information. I'm just going to grab what's at position 80, and then I'm going to grab position 160 or whatever. So it'll allow me to sort of kind of fly through that pixel array and just pick where I want to be. Same deal down here in the X position. I'm going to do the same thing with step size, right? So y is plus or minus equal to step size, right? It's a little bit to process. It's a little bit to mess around with. Training wheels are off, like I said last week. So this is, I didn't just like tap this out without having any errors or any problems. This takes a while to figure out the logic for what it is I wanted to do. You're going to be doing something similar as you go through your own creative process, and that's part of the fun, right? I know it's code, but it's hopefully part of the fun. All right, so the old formula for finding the XY pixel coordinates in a one-dimensional pixel array, right, is the y times width plus x times 4, right? So there we go. That's the same formula that you can look up from last week. And so now I have some pixel information. I have the index of where it is that I want to interrogate. So now what will I do with that? So I have my pixel location, and you'll remember that the way that that long pixel dimension array is organized is red, green, blue, and then alpha channel. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to calculate the relative brightness of where I'm at right now. So sort of like get a gray level based on what the RGB value is of that location. I'm going to average that out, and I'm going to call that my brightness. So how am I going to calculate that? Well, I'm going to take my video.pixels I, which is the index that I'm at right now in my loop. So I is what? The red value. And then I plus 1 is, say it with me, the green value. And then the blue value, right? So I'm going to get I plus 1, I plus 2, and then I, red, green, and blue value. Add those together and divide by 3, and that's going to be our average brightness, our average gray level for that pixel, right? So now I have a brightness, but what I really wanted was, I think I had said that the darker the pixel is, the bigger I want the blob, the circle that I draw it to be. So I'm just going to flip that. So I just have a little calculation here where I just calculate darkness, and I just say sort of 255 minus whatever I just got for brightness divided by 255. And that was another little trial and error calculation. So I'm essentially inverting, brightness to make darkness. And then from there, I've got, the darker the value, the darker the pixel, the bigger the number will be. Now I can apply that to drawing the radius for the circle I'm about to draw. And I can say the radius will be equal to the step size, which we remember, right, is that location in our XY coordinate space. So if I, using that example of having my mouse way over to the left, way over to the far right-hand side of the canvas. So that would be every 80 pixels. I'm going to draw a circle with a radius of step size times whatever that darkness value is. So let's say that the darkness comes to like 0.5, and this was 80, then I would be drawing a pixel radius of 40. So mid-gray, if it was a mid-gray level pixel, it would get a value of 0.5, which I would apply to the step size. The max would be 80, but a middle gray value would draw at 40, so it'd be like half as big as a super dark one. And then I've got this number from there that I can use, to start drawing my ellipse. So I got my radius value, and I've got my I still have that pixel information, right, that I had from when I grabbed the pixel's eye, so I still know what its RGB value is supposed to be, and I can just make a fill call instead of just typing in fill 25500. I can just use my pixel data to give me my fill values. So I can say my video.pixels I, which is the red, my video pixels I plus 1, which is green, and my pixels I plus 2, which is blue. So I get the RGB value there of what the actual video pixel was, and then I'll just draw an ellipse at the XY location and at the radius I calculated. So it's not, and is kind of a confusing bit of code in that I had to do a little bit of, creative juggling to make some numbers that partnered to those video pixels. But what I did there was just my own thing. You could take that pixel data, those pixel values, you could do something completely different. You could, decide to grab them and sort them all by the value of light to dark, and then redraw the image so that all the dark pixels start at the top left and the bright pixels go to the top right, or whatever you want to do. It's up to you. And this is the fun of getting into this level of a little bit more sophisticated code. I understand that if you're working on a final project and it's not a highly video intensive project, then you're probably not going to want to spend your next couple of weeks delving too deep into the pixel array. But if this is kind of your thing and this is what gets you jazzed, then doing something like this is a pretty cool way to spend some time getting creative with video information. Okay, so that is using video that sits on my computer. Right? There's other ways that you can do this. So I'm going to change one line of code here. I'm just going to comment out the video source. That was that video that's on my computer. And I'm going to activate instead a video that is out there on the cloud. So if you have a Vimeo Pro account, which is actually an account you have to pay for, there may be other places that allow you to export via a video API. Vimeo is one of them. I don't know all of them, but Vimeo Pro accounts allow you to do this, where you can actually use their API to send out a URL, an MP4 URL, to a video that sits on their server. So you don't have to worry about serving the actual video file from your own server, incurring the data that is associated with that. And if your server isn't particularly optimized for serving video, it's probably going to be kind of a slow and clunky experience. So kind of nice if you can get something like Vimeo or Amazon Web Services or something like that to hold your assets. So what I'm doing here, and I'll actually go ahead and show you the video. This is just a background video that I have I have that consulting company, the Blue Ocean, and I have a video loop that I made for that background. So I have this this video that kind of sits in the background of some web presentation that I have. So I'm just showing you that I can use that video feed from Vimeo, and the code just adapts automatically. So it's not a necessity that you serve your video directly from your machine or from your own server. You could actually get it from a third-party source as well, provided that all of your cross-origin resource sharing stuff, if you remember those CORS errors that you probably have seen if you try to grab an image or a resource that's not allowed to be shared from another website, you have to make sure that all that CORS stuff is taken care of for you. But just showing that you don't need to serve it directly from your own computer. Okay, so that is using a recorded video source as your input. So what I'm going to do now, just save that, I'm going to now show you guys the exact same thing, except instead of using, let me just call this stuff up here, except instead of using a pre-baked video, excuse me, I'm going to capture video from the webcam. Now, hopefully this won't, I'm just thinking ahead here, hopefully this won't crash the recording that I'm using with this webcam here. I'm using a standalone webcam to talk to you, but I also have a webcam connected to my laptop that in my MacBook. So hopefully it will grab from the MacBook, but you will see that I've commented out. Remember, I had my video was create video, and then I grabbed the video that was Actually, I'm just gonna comment some of this out because you don't need to know about that. Rather than just grabbing something from my hard drive, I am now going to grab something from a live feed from a camera and cross my fingers and hope that it doesn't crash my computer. So notice this new line of code here, create capture video. So that is another capability of P5, and I'll direct you over to the resource, to the reference page where you can read about the create capture interface and how it works. So this week and next, we're going to be using this create capture. It does exactly what you think. You can capture video, or you can capture audio, sound. That's what we'll do next week. We'll do some stuff with sound. But if you're capturing something from the environment, you use the create capture function to do that for you. And then, what it's going to return is, guess what? A P5 media element. So the P5 media element has all of those same, volume and other functions that, speed and loop and stop kind of stuff that you can use to partner with it. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to back us up. Actually, let's put us into code just so I'll show you. We've got a video that we're going to capture, and it's going to look for a webcam. And your web page is going to ask you, hey, this web page is asking to use your webcam. Is that cool? You say yes, and then it will turn on your webcam for you. And then everything else in this particular sketch is more or less identical to what I just showed you in the previous sketch. I'm just going to use a different input this time around, okay? So let's save, and let's go over, and let's cross our fingers as we go into 12.1-webcam. Oh, actually, all right. So it is. It's actually using the same camera that's recording this video. I hope it's not giving you some sort of an inception, like infinite loop thing. But you can see that, as I wave my hand in front of the camera, let's see if I can. You can see that information is in fact, in real time being translated right onto the screen. So I could go ahead and, I can hide my video just like I did before. And now I just have, this is the webcam doing its thing. So it's not that hard to use webcam input or video input in P5.js. I mean, the hard part, I don't mean to dismiss any of this. I know it's not easy. Learning that pixel array, learning how to mess with those pixels, that's the hard part. But it's literally one line of code to say, hey, connect me a webcam, please, and then you're good to go. That's the wonderful part of P5.js. You're not going to get this kind of stuff in jQuery if you're into the the whole media and audio visual kind of thing. This is where P5 really gets to be fun. So that's a whirlwind tour through how we can exploit video information, either recorded information or stuff that we capture from the live environment, and then run it through any number of manipulations, the most sophisticated of which is the pixel array manipulations that I showed you. But you could be just fine to just capture the video and not do pixel manipulations with it. You may just want to have video, or you may be doing something that's not, maybe you're doing some sort of a rudimentary imaging application. I'm thinking where you want to, I don't know, you're looking at a particular manufacturing area and you want to see the region of red pixels in that video screen. So you might just want to count the red pixels, something. You could do that very easily with the code that we've gotten. And say, okay, if the red threshold's over 250, then increment my count by 1, and then feed me a real-time report of how many red pixels my computer vision camera is seeing at the moment. So there's all kinds of applications. All right, so in the next video I will show you another another creative trick that we can do with video, and we'll do like a slit scan.